Hello and welcome to Advent Sunday, and our talk today is Your Present is in the Preparation. And as it's Advent Sunday, the reading for this Sunday comes from Mark chapter 13 verses 32 to the end. Here we go. No one knows about that day or hour, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Be on your guard, be alert. You do not know when that time will come. It's like a man going away. He leaves his house and puts his servants in charge, each with his assigned task, or her with her assigned task, and tells the one at the door to keep watch. Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know when the owner of the house will come back, and whether in the evening or at midnight, or when the cock crows, or at dawn. If he comes suddenly, do not let him find you sleeping. What I say to you, I say to everyone, watch. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. And so I'd like to talk to you today about your present is in the preparation. It's very easy, especially with the lockdown this year, is to put our Christmas trees up really early, and we've got ours up already. It's to wrap all the presents or drink all the mulled wine or get into Christmas that bit early, because we're in a very precarious and difficult situation, and I understand that. But one of the things that I encourage you to do in this lockdown, or wherever you are at the moment, is to actually enjoy the process, enjoy the journey to Christmas, enjoy the present of the fact that you have some time to prepare, so that when Christmas comes, you're going to be filled with an utter joy, as opposed to thinking, what? Christmas? I've been celebrating that for the last 2-3 weeks. Let's get down to the January sales. Oh, hang on, it's Boxing Day. Never mind. So what I'm saying to you right now is, what I'm saying to myself is, enjoy this time. What do we get from this passage here today to help us know that our present is in the preparation? Well, the first thing I think this passage is telling us today is that we are called in this season of Advent to worship God. To worship God. You know, like me, you may be preparing your house at the moment, and maybe cleaning it all up and getting everything looking really lovely for Christmas. And we've been doing that here in the rectory. We've been hoovering, we've been sorting out boxes, throwing out lots of things to the recycle centre, lots of things to charities, stores around. And from this passage here, I believe that not only are we called to prepare our house, but we're called to prepare ourselves with God by learning again to worship God. To worship God. How are we called to worship God from this passage then? Well, the first thing for this passage we see is that we all have a task. We all have a task. And it could be through work, it could be through your home, but also most important, very importantly, I believe, it's also within your role within the church as well. You all have a role, not just the vicar, to build up the local church. And this is what God is really trying to encourage us to do, is to worship and wonder and rejoice in the task that you have. Thomas Carlyle says that wonder is the basis of worship. And what we've been learning in our house group recently is that sense that actually we're called to punctuate our day in Advent with silence, with stillness. And so that actually as we prepare our house, we're also called to prepare our lives and to clean out all that mess and that junk, and remind ourselves that we do have a task at work, in church, in our family. And it is to wonder again, like, wow, God, you came as one of us? Wow, isn't that amazing? And to have that stillness so we can hunker down with the Lord and remind ourselves it's not just for other people, but it's for ourselves too, to just remember that wonderful role. The second thing I believe, which I've kind of just said already, is that not only do we have a task and to prepare and to remind ourselves of that task. But that task is a specific role. You see, wherever you are, as I've mentioned to you before, that you are blooming where you're planted, and that you're not just a statistic or a pew warmer or another brick in the wall at school or at work, but actually you have a unique role. When I was over at Redbourne recently, I was reflecting on this passage here, and I was just looking at the sunshine coming down, and I was just realising, like, wow, God, you've made this sun, isn't it amazing? And I just sensed God saying, yes, I've made it for the world, but I've also made it for you. And it reminded me that actually that even though sometimes we think, well, you know, I'm just going through the motions, may this Advent, may this preparation remind you that you have a role in life. You have a role that is going to change people, influence people. In fact, even the most introverted person will influence over 10,000 people in their lives. Think how many more that you will if you just remind yourself that your role is important, just like in here. Imagine the person in this passage here said, well, my role's not that great, I'll just coast it. Well, actually, we see later, as we'll come on to, is that someone's going to come back and have a look at how well you did. But God knows that you're going to pass the test. That's why he prepares you in advance. Not only are we called to worship God and prepare in our task, in our role, but also I believe that actually we do have a responsibility too. You know, sometimes we think, okay, we've got a role from God. We're called to remind ourselves of that. We've got a task that God is calling us to do. But not only that, but we've got a responsibility. I feel that this passage here is a really good one at the beginning of Advent because it reminds us that we do have money. We may not feel like we have much, but we do have influence. You may not feel like you have much, but you do. And you can make a difference with the environment, with the people in your street, with the people in your church, with the prayers for the world. You don't know how much your prayers are making a difference around the world. It could be your birthday today, and you know, on your birthday, every year you think, wow, I have such a responsibility. I've got a year older. May I encourage you that every day you get a day older, and every 24 hours, especially in Advent, we're called to remember, wow, I've got this responsibility as marked out in this passage. You see, these people in the passage had a role, and the owner was coming back. And as I was at the cathedral the other day, just lighting some candles and just writing some prayers down, it really hit me that, yeah, I've got a responsibility. I may not feel like it at times. I may feel like I'm just here. But actually, I've got a really, really big responsibility. You know, not only are we called to prepare our house and make it really tidy and look at our task, our role and responsibility, but we're also called in Advent to remind ourselves that actually this role that God has given you in life as a mother, a father, as an employer, employee, comes with authority from God. And God doesn't want us to go through life feeling self-pitiful and feeling like, do you know, I don't really have much. I'm not particularly that great. I want to encourage you that in this Advent, at this very beginning of this talk here today, is that your role, your task is very precious and you have authority. You see, the other day I was in Alpha, but also I was just in my own personal Bible readings. I come across this verse from Peter that says, cast all your anxiety onto him. Why? Because him, who is Jesus, died on the cross. And he cares for you. Yes, not only do we remember Easter, but remember Easter in Advent. He died and rose again. You have authority in your role, responsibility and a task. And not only that, may I encourage you in this beginning, as you clean out your house, as you clean out your worship to God, that your role in life as a child, an adult, a grandparent or a parent or a single person is this: you have dignity. You have complete dignity. You've got a made-up mind that says that I'm not going to listen to negativity. I'm going to listen to what God says in this Advent. I'm going to know that I have God's authority. You know, you may be like me and you may have been watching the Great British Bake Off, especially in the UK. And when you're watching the Great British Bake Off, they're making their cakes and so forth. And when they've done a really good job, Paul Hollywood, he puts his hand out and he shakes the baker's hand, and it's called the Hollywood handshake. I go over the moon when I see that. I just feel their joy. I go, wow, they've got a Hollywood handshake. They've shook hands with an amazing baker. And that amazing baker says to the amateur, well done, you've done a great job, you're fantastic. May I remind you in this Advent that God does not give you a Hollywood handshake, he gives you a Saviour's handshake. A hand which has a cross, the crucified Saviour's hands, holds it in his hands, and he comes out to you and says, well done, good and faithful servant. I love you, you're doing a good job. You may feel like an amateur sometimes, but you're not. You have dignity, you have a role, a task and responsibility. So may I encourage you today, may I encourage you with this fact, as we start this journey today, is that you have not only an opportunity to clean your house, but you have an opportunity to worship God as well. Cade, my cameraman, how are you doing there?
You have a filter on.
I have a filter on. Can you take the filter off? Okay, it may not be able to come off. Okay, what have you done to it?
I haven't done anything.
Okay, never mind. Let's just carry on anyway. If I've got a filter on, have I got a face on, have I? What's happening?
You have a bunny ear.
Oh my gosh. Right, I'm going to see if I can take this off. Bunny ears quality. Well, it may have bunny ears. Well, we'll carry on with the bunny ears. Okay. There we go. It makes it even more fun today. I've got bunny ears. I didn't even realise I had the filter on there. The second thing I like to say, you can watch it in a more dignified way on YouTube if you like. The second thing I like to say about this passage here is not only are we called to clean house and look at our task and our role and worship God, but we're also called to wait on God. We're called to wait on God. There's a renewal, a revisiting to the Lord again. Friends, you may be having Advent calendars at the moment and ready to start, and you start counting down the days. Well, I want to encourage you today, whether I've got bunny ears on or not, is that you're called not only to open up those windows every day and remind yourself that the day is coming closer, but every day you're called to wait and renew that walk with God. In the passage here, the man who had gone away and he was coming back at a certain time. For Advent today, we're called to remind ourselves that actually we know that Jesus is coming in the future, but we are preparing ourselves for Christmas Day. So what can we learn about waiting in our Christian journey between now and Christmas? Well, the first thing I like to look at about waiting is simply this: keep calm and carry on. You may have bunny ears, as apparently Cade has noticed on the Facebook, but you keep calm and you carry on. When you're waiting, sometimes there's got to be that calmness within you. Me and Cade were sorting out some lights. You may see them outside the rectory today. And with that, there came an untangling of the lights. Yes, friends, we put them together the right way, but somehow they got tangled. And it took a while. We had to be calm, carry on, keep going through the motions. And we sometimes we thought, this is never going to end. What's the point? Let's just chuck them up as they are. But no, we kept on going. And that's what God is saying to you in this Advent time, is to remind yourself that you've got to keep calm. Keep calm this Advent. We as a race, as humans, can sometimes find it very hard to keep calm. I don't know why we get so agitated. Maybe it's social media. Maybe it's a sense of keeping up with the Joneses. But God reminds us in the waiting from this passage, but also from Jesus' own life, we're called to keep calm. Second thing I believe about waiting in Advent, we're called to keep going and carry on. Keep going and carry on. It was just the other day, and I was just walking down the street. I was going on what I thought was a prayerful, meditative walk around Shenley. I was with Cade and Calla, and they probably thought it was a great opportunity to talk about Pokemons. Well, whatever you were like. But I was walking around, and I was thinking, maybe this year, we'll just go lightly, and we won't. I'll just step back a bit. Maybe that's what God is calling me to do. But then I was just praying and said, God, is this what I'm meant to be doing? And then all of a sudden I bumped into Judith. And Judith said, hi, how are you doing? And I just felt an amazing lift. I thought, great, that's just really, really great encouragement. Maybe, God, that was a coincidence. And then all of a sudden, I walked a little bit further. And then I got a honk from Matthew in the car. And I thought, two people, after just prayed a prayer about, should I just sort of step back a bit? I don't know, take it easier. And then I thought, oh, maybe there's just two coincidences. Then a third coincidence, I was kept on walking along. A lady called Gail, she was going a different way. She stopped the car, got out and jumped up and said, hi, how are you, Dan? Hope you're doing well, keep going. And then she got back in the car. I just thought, oh my goodness, maybe God is saying to me, as what he's saying through this passage, is yes, sometimes it can be hard, but keep on going, keep on waiting, keep on being calm. You see, not only are we called to wait in a calm way and a keep going way, but we're also called to wait in a patient way too, a patient way. Patience and Christmas don't always go together, but we're in Advent, and this is a time to prepare our waiting on God. I was with Rabbi Alan the other day, and Rabbi Alan and I just get on so well. And we just reminded again, as we were just spending time together, that actually we're called to wait. We're called to be patient. It can be tough sometimes as we follow God. It can be really difficult sometimes. Things don't go the way that we always wish. I wish I didn't have bunny ears, but some reason I have today. But we just keep patient. It's okay. We have a made up mind. We are waiting on God. Cal has reminded me that those bunny ears are still on. I'm going to enjoy looking back at this later on. I'm also reminded actually in Advent time from this passage here about waiting on God. I was just reflecting on the Iranian church. There's a Christian Iranian church, a persecuted church, and many people are coming to faith. Why? Because there are many Christians who go into jail and they are writing verses on the prison walls. They're writing words on the prison walls such as, be still and know that I am God. They're writing on the prison walls, Jesus says, I am the resurrection and the life. They are just amazing how people are coming to faith. Families who've only got one Bible are sharing it with other families. And it really just reminds me, actually at Christmas time, we're not called just to have the gifts, but we're called to remember that our present is in the preparation. Worshipping God, waiting on God, and keeping calm, and keep going, and keeping being patient. The final thing about waiting on God, I really believe, is that we're called to keep on being focused. And one of the things I love about this Advent season, it is a permission to actually realign our priorities. Sometimes people say to me, I just don't have the time, Daniel. It's all very good for you. You're the vicar. You've got bunny ears on today. You must have plenty of time to do things. Fantastic. I'm reminded when I was watching Nativity Rocks the other day. And it's a great film. If you haven't seen it, it's a great film. And on Nativity Rocks, there is a chap called Jerry Poppy, Mr. Poppy. And he's talking to Barnaby's parents, who are really rich, got loads of money, but they are really time poor, Mr. and Mrs. Hargreaves. And Mr. Poppy is saying to Mrs. Hargreaves, why don't you spend time with your children? And Mrs. Hargreaves says, oh no, I just don't have time. I just don't really have that. I've got to do my work. I've got to keep things going. But Mr. Poppy says, and I found this a very childlike thing, he says, you've got a choice. You've got time for Barnaby. You've got time. Make time. You've got a choice. This is what Advent is about, friends. It's about refocusing our walk on Jesus. Reminding ourselves that actually in the waiting we're called to be patient. In the waiting we're called to keep calm. And in the waiting, we've got to keep on going. So there are the first 2 points about this passage, about this man going away. He left people to look after his estate, and he knows that he was going to come back one day. And so the first 2 points to remind you is to get your house ready, yes, but worship God. Get your soul and your life ready. Get the Advent calendars out, yes, so you can wait on Christmas, but wait on God too. And the final point I like to make today, yes, with bunny ears on, is is that not only are we called to worship God in Advent and wait on God in Advent, we're also called to watch for God in Advent. Watch for God in Advent. And many of us do that, I believe, by coming to church. I think it's just an amazing thing, actually, that we have nativity services, we have 9 lessons and carols, we have school assemblies about Christingles and so forth. And it's just so fantastic that many people find Advent a great time to come to church and watch for God. You see, the thing is, in this passage here, at the very end, it says, watch. Watch for my return. Watch for what is going to happen. Keep your eyes peeled. Look out for me. And so I'm just going to end this talk with a few encouragements as we begin Advent, reminding ourselves that your present is in the preparation. My present is in the preparation. From watching, I believe we're called and we're encouraged to remind ourselves that Jesus sees you. Jesus sees everything about your life. You may not feel it at times. You may feel like Jesus is too busy with things going over in America or in Australia. But Jesus sees you. There was a man called Graham Seed, Graham, G-R-A-M, and his life was a complete wreck. He was on drink and drugs. In fact, his own mother called him the son of Satan. Can you believe that? Gosh, what a lovely, a lovely thing to put on your CV. But he was so angry and he was so filled with hate and drink and drugs and so forth that in the end he just died. He went to hospital, and these Christians who had been seeing him while he was in hospital noticed that he died. And the doctors said he's dead, there's no point coming anymore. But these Christians said, do you know what? If it's okay, Mum, we're going to come around and we're just going to lay hands on this man called Graham Seed. And we're just going to just pray a prayer. And do you know what they did? They watched, they waited on God, they worshipped God. And unbelievably, you may think, but this is the great thing about miracles, is that Graham Seed, even though he was officially dead, he was told that actually his heart was coming back to life again. He was able to see again. In fact, he came back alive. And not only alive, he didn't come back with any of the grumpiness, addictions, or anything. He said, I saw Jesus and I am back. And he has now done over 150 alpha courses in prisons, out of prisons, and he is completely changed. Jesus sees you. And I share that story today just to give myself a jolt, but also to remind ourselves the reason for the season is not about cakes and presents, but actually is about Jesus becoming one of us. And as we know that Jesus sees and he is watching us, it reminds me and it reminds you too that Jesus is in control. Yeah? It may not feel like it sometimes. It may feel like, oh my goodness, I'm just doing whatever I like. But Jesus is in control. Calla keeps on reminding me that I've got bunny ears still, which is absolutely great. And I've just been reflecting, as I put on Facebook the other day, that I've just completed a journal for the last 10 months. And as I go day by day, what I've been trying to do is chart my journey with God. Chart and see where he's been. And at times it feels like, that God, where are you? I can't see you. But actually, as I look over my journal, I see all of these amazing things that God has done in my life. And I can now testify and share with you as a witness, yes, Jesus is in control. It may feel dark at times. It may feel like things are going wrong all the time. Like you may have bunny ears this morning. But it's okay. Jesus is in control. Watch for him. Look out for him. Not only do I believe that in the watching are we called to remember that Jesus sees and he's in control, but Jesus longs to reward you. He longs to reward you. And so when he's seeing you, he's not looking at the dross and all the things you've done wrong. He's looking for all the things he can reward you when he does return. And so I encourage you as you prepare for Christmas, that you would remind yourself that Jesus is seeing you and he will reward you. I remember, I'm just reflecting on this amazing local servant called Heather, who's helping me with our messy church. And Heather is just an amazing lady. Yes, like all of us, we all have our tough days and we all go through lots of different things. But Heather still keeps that dignity, still keeps that smile, keeps on going and is strong and spontaneous and happy and helping our messy church families live Christmas. And do you know what Jesus sees in Heather? Jesus sees joy and amazement. Heaven may not feel like it all the time, like we don't feel it all the time. But Jesus sees that. And I want to encourage you, as I want to encourage Heather today, watch for God. Look out for his generosity, his joy, and his imagination, and his courage. I'm just going to end with just a couple of things, really, because I've said a lot today with my bunny ears on. But if you can ignore the bunny ears, I'm just trying to and just encourage you that actually, in Advent time, it's good to look back as well as look forward. The Church of England say this is actually the beginning of a new year. And actually today, you can actually make some resolutions for that. But Jesus does remind us that as we watch, as we realign our focus on him, that we cannot sometimes get away with the fact that we've experienced pain. Yeah? You may feel like your pain never ends. It may feel like it's always there. It may feel like me, like when I've gone through cancer a few years ago, that actually people around you have forgotten your pain. And actually you may be feeling like, oh, that person's fine now. The smile is on the face. That's fine. But you're still going through the mill psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. May I encourage you, Jesus sees you. He's in control and he's preparing you as well in this Advent season. Remembering that your present is in the preparation. That pain is not wasted, friends. The pain that you're going through is going to see an amazing harvest. It may be the other side in heaven where Jesus will be saying, good and faithful servant, look at the way you dignified that amazing trial. It may be this side through the way that you're living your life. It may be through healing. I encourage you and pray that you would continue to be expectant and watch for God's healing in your life. Through all of this, I just want to just end with these words here. In the fact that Jesus is watching you and we're called to watch God, may I encourage you with these 10 statements. These 10 abundant statements that God, when he looks at you, he says over your life. And I encourage you to say them over your life yourself. God, when he looks at you, he says, you are my very good idea. You are God's very good idea. When God looks at you, he sees that you are a joy bringer. You're an absolute abundant joy bringer. When he looks at you, he says you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You're not called to be fearful, but you are fearfully and awesomely and wonderfully made. When he looks at you and when you look at him, he thinks, wow, this child of mine is outrageously loved, and they know it. Yeah. Not only that, you my friends, are a storm sleeper. You can sleep through storms. Why? Because you're watching for God, you're worshipping God, and you're waiting on him. You are God's masterpiece, and you are not alone. You are, in fact, an overcomer, and you are a child of God. Not only are you a child of God, but your name is graffitied, or looking at the actual Italian of graffitied, it is engraved on his hand. Your name is engraved on his hand. May I encourage you today in this quite a somber passage of a man going away, leaving tasks for people to do and expecting them to be done when he comes back. May I encourage you that this Advent is a time for you to prepare. Yes, enjoy, wear woolly jumpers, maybe wear bunny ears as somehow I've got today. But may I also give you a challenge in the comfort as well. That you're called to worship God again. You're called to wait on God again. And you're called to watch for God again. Let's just pray as we finish here today. Lord Jesus, I want to thank you for all the joys that you give us. But also I know that this season of Advent is a season for us to grab hold of. May we not lose this preparation and time, Lord. May we not waste it and think this is dead time. But may we realise that actually the preparation is where the gift is. So that when we come to Christmas, with bunny ears or not, we will be able to worship you fully, powerfully, and with great joy. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, if you've been part of this this talk, whether on YouTube or whether on Facebook, may I encourage you to leave a comment and just say hi. It just encourages me. But stay blessed and hope to see you soon. I'm off to eat a carrot.